Join the fun, don't be afraid. Flat TV is all you need. Web free power in the lead. Stream past NFT, premium unlocked. Rad TV, we're never gonna stop. Flat TV, the place to be for creators and fans. We're the key. Join the wave, let's make some noise. Rad TV, we're the future, enjoy.
Boom. Good morning. How are you? Happy Friday.
What's up, man? How are you?
I am very well. It's great to connect with you again. It's been, I think, about a year, maybe a little bit longer.
I know, dude. Yeah,
Flying.
dude.
Time is flying.
For sure, man.
How's
Good to
life?
see everything you've been up to.
Yeah, we've been crushing it. Life is good at Rad TV. We are really excited about everything we've built and where the space is. And honestly, I'll tell you, I'm very excited to talk to you just to see what you've been up to. You're the tip of the spear, my king. I think you know it, but I'll tell you and give you your flowers here publicly. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining another episode of NFTV. My name is Cameron. I'm head of community and marketing at Rad TV. And today we have the legendary MetaPuppet. His studio, Promise Studios, was recently funded by Google and a few other VCs. They have absolutely taken the game to the next level over the past several months. And his co-creators, co-founders, we got some posts pinned up here to the top of the Jumbotron. You can check out what MetaPuppet's been up to. He's got a channel on Rad TV. Check out his YouTube channel. Everything's on our timeline. Feel free to scroll and do some clicking. He is incredible. He created the first consistent AI series ever. Really magical stuff. Click on his channel on Rad TV or go to his YouTube channel and check out Before They Were Famous, Adam and Keldor. It is hilarious. It's funny. And everything he's released since then has been the pinnacle of AI content. He's really producing the highest level works in the space, in my opinion, and everybody at Rad TV's opinion. And I think, he's winning awards out here. They're getting funded by Google. What else do you want to happen? He's got a traditional background in Hollywood and has been doing AI productions since the very beginning. We spoke to him early last year. I want to say it was like March or April last year, 2024.
Yes.
And
right.
You were already as deep as anybody in the space was at that time. And now you're working at Promise. Congratulations on all your guys' recent success. I know it's been a ton of work and been watching you all grind for a couple years. So really excited to dive in and hear about everything you've been up to. Everybody go follow MetaPuppet. And just a friendly reminder to you, King MetaPuppet, that this is live and will be going out to the world just before we get started here, so you don't say anything that you can't say. Happy Friday. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, man. That was a hell of an intro, man. Thank you. Appreciate all.
You're a hell of a guest. A heaven of a guest. I don't like saying that hell. I've heaven of a guest. You're the best type of guest. You really check all the boxes for us. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, no, happy to be here, man. Yeah, it was about a year ago we talked. But even before we spoke, we hit each other up, I guess, on X.
Yep.
And thought it was, just really cool what you guys are doing at Rad TV. Before they were famous, Adam and Keldor, I was a big He-Man fan as a kid, and I know they're doing a He-Man movie now.
Are they really?
Shot it already.
What? Live action?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Who's He-Man?
Yeah. I'm excited, but also bummed because, I like 8 years ago, when I was living in LA, I'm a rep writer. And so I was pitching this He-Man idea. And, it's been taken forever for them to get something off the ground. So I'm happy that they finally did. I think next year it comes out.
Wow, I just looked it up. Nicholas Galitzine is playing He-Man. I'm not familiar with him, I don't think, just off my quick search here. But incredible. Yeah. That's so fun. That's amazing.
Yeah, but the idea of just having basically Adam and Keldor, He-Man and Skeletor as roommates in LA in the 70s before the hit TV show in the 80s, I just thought was a cool idea. And
so good.
Everything got crazy. I mean, from 1 year ago to today, my life has changed dramatically, and it's because of AI, making AI videos, which is awesome. But I have another episode of that I haven't finished, and I'd love to get back to. And the tech has changed so much. So the way things look now, what we can do now, it would look totally different.
I bet, and I have tons of questions in this lane. You've produced a bunch of pieces over the last year or so that have struck us as um, kind of the pinnacle of the moment. You're really delivering things that are hitting, and it seems like you're about 3 to 6 months ahead of most of the industry. Like you're getting the results that people are getting 3 to 6 months later. And I think your audio, your lip sync, your consistency has been phenomenal since day one. Lemonade is crazy. I think you won an award for that. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I appreciate it. Lemonade was that was my intent on that was lip sync was to have a
It's beautiful.
dialogue scene because I just hadn't seen that yet, and I figured, well, I might as well be the one to try it, and I'm not the only one, but obviously, like, we can't go more mainstream with AI film until we can have these like dialogue scenes where people can get invested in the characters.
Yep.
And so that was my intent with that. It won the Culver Cup competition in LA, and that's really the short film that kicked off. I got a bunch of offers after that, and
I
Promise
bet.
was one. So that film really kind of kicked it off for me.
Amazing. And I mean, when that came out, we featured it right away on Rad TV, front and center, put it in front of everybody. And as soon as I watched it, you really, I mean, was it 3 minutes longish? Is that about how long that was? Maybe
I think it was about about
five.
5 minutes.
Okay. So I just remember it being so encapsulated. Like it was a full story encapsulated in that 5 minutes. And I felt invested in what was happening. And it actually had, it had suspense, it had a great story. It did a lot in 5 minutes and was one of the first like dramatic pieces that I have watched and felt a wow moment of like, wow, a 5 minute piece of content. This did a lot in 5 minutes. Was that what you were setting? Were you setting out to try to show everything that was possible in 5 minutes, or what you said lip sync? What was the
Yeah.
storytelling goal there?
So that's awesome that you felt that way. That what happened was there were 50 creators that were invited to participate, if I remember correctly, or we submitted and then they picked 50. That's what it was. They picked 50, and I was one of them. And they gave us a creative slate by David Slade, who was a director of he did Black Mirror Bandersnatch, I think. He's done a
Yeah,
bunch of
love that.
yeah, directed. So he gave us this creative treatment. It was essentially like it has to whatever the story is, it has to take place in a diner, and something has to spill and somebody has to pay. Those were the three directives, and then it was like just go nuts, do whatever you can, and we had 3 weeks to do it. So it went from no idea to finish film in 3 weeks, which was like I was pulling like towards the last week. I was doing 12 hours of just working
Wow.
on that. It was pretty stressful, but yeah, the story came around. My grandmother had passed away. She had dementia. She was 93. She had dementia. And she had passed away months before that. And when I would go to visit her, she would have these hallucinations right there in the room. And last year at that time, AI hallucinates, right? And so I thought, wow, this would be kind of crazy to show these flashbacks and use AI for these hallucinations. So that was kind of the seed of how the story started. And the cool thing about when you're making a film with AI, it's sometimes it gives you something you have an idea, and then it shows you something you can't unsee, and you're like, wow, I want to go down that hole. So it's like the story can change. So I'm figuring out the story as I was making it, and this was for the Culver Cup competition, so we only had 3 weeks. And yeah, but my intention was just to have an awesome dialogue scene where you felt emotion for the characters. That was really my focus. A lot of the other stuff was on the fly in that one, and it just kind of came together in a way that was pretty special.
Thank you for sharing that. And sorry to hear about your grandmother. I had a very similar experience with mine before she passed over. It's like she could see the other side or something and was having full on conversations. It was a very wild experience as a young man.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, man. That's something that unfortunately a lot of people it resonates with, and I think that's
Hmm.
another reason why the theme, it did well too, is because it screened in LA at the Culver Cup Theater, and after the screening, people came up to me and they were like moved because they had somebody in their family who had dementia, and so when you're dealing with a theme that is unfortunately so relatable, people do get invested in it.
Um, are you always collaborative in that way where you're allowing the AI to kind of choose the forks in the road? Or is there any times that you're forceful of like, no, I'm going to roll 100 times. I don't care. I want this next thing. Or is it always open and collaborative, free flowing?
To an extent, I think even in traditional filmmaking, it's always that way because you can go in with a script and then you never know logistically what might happen. If you're out on location and the weather changes, I mean, some you have to be flexible to a point. And I think with AI video, it's the same way. I have a script. I'm working on something right now that's a short film that I'm excited about, and I have a script, and it's pretty much contained to that script. But I'll see in terms of like camera angles or shots or characters. I mean that stuff, things that are happening in real time, and that will give me an idea, and it might be better than the one that I had. So yeah, it's an interesting process, but I think it's kind of similar in traditional filmmaking.
I
The
was just going to
difference
say that.
Yeah, the difference is in traditional film, you know, you if you're working on people of, you know, producers who put in like millions of dollars, it's very stressful. You want it to be kind of like by the script, and you want, you know, you're everybody's worried about time frame and deadlines and all that. So it's a little more flexible at this point right now when I'm working on a project which is like a personal project. When we do things with Promise, it is funded, and you know I work with a team there. It's not like a solo project, so that's a little bit different too.
So you won the Culver Cup and you started to get some offers. Was the Black Eyed Peas thing before or after that? And would love to hear about the Black Eyed Peas 3008 trailer.
Yeah, that was before it.
Okay.
I repped at secret level commercially, and
Fire,
the
by the way.
Black Eyed Peas,
Fire.
yeah, yeah, they do great work. The Black Eyed Peas was that was something that I think that was the first thing I did with them. So that was really cool to work on that. And then after that was the Coke commercial where Dave Clark directed. I was an editor on that, and so we worked together there. We were both repped at secret level. But I knew Dave. We had known of each other, just like a lot of people in the space. You know, a lot of people from X, and so that's kind of where that started, and it just grew from there. And then again, after Lemonade, that's when things started really opening up.
So how are you what like when you say you're an editor and Dave Clark gave, he's giving you those pieces or whatever, how does that work? Are you getting a near finalized piece and then you're making decisions, or are you getting all of the components that are like the shots, if you will, and then you're putting them all together? What's that workflow look like now as things are so different and you have, an expertise in the traditional skill sets of filmmaking and editing?
On the Coke spot, I came in halfway through. I didn't do any of the image generation. We had a team. We worked with other people on that. I came in to run motion and to edit because I just have a background. You know, I've been an editor for 15 years, so I came in and did that. But with Promise, I'm a director, so it's a different relationship. Dave and I, you know, he's a co-founder of Promise, but in terms of like filmmakers, we are the two full-time filmmakers there. So it's great, man. I get to work with him every day. We talk all the time, and so that's different from when we worked on the Coke spot. So yeah, where that I was just editing.
Very cool. Um, so, Lemonade had real, what I would consider, very real emotion for me, as we just discussed. And I'm wondering if you're having any trouble, or is there any friction in getting that emotion from the story you want to tell into those images? Are you prompting emotion, and is it hitting the nail on the head most of the time, or is that a tough nut to crack?
That was like, yeah, almost a year ago. So that was what, September, October,
Yeah,
and
yeah. It was right when we were going into fall. It was like Halloween, right before Halloween, and we were featuring a bunch of Halloween stuff, and you were top of the list. As like it was kind of
cool.
horror-y, but also familial and love and like a love story. It had literally everything.
It that was before we had VO3. I think we didn't have Sora like publicly. That the tools were a lot different then. I remember prompting the old lady. I was prompting for her yelling and crying and different emotions. And I use Kling a lot on that one, and it would, it took a lot of generations, and then honestly, it's really in the editing. You might generate a 5 second clip, and you use a half a second. I think that's really where the magic comes together. I was doing all of the speech like style transfers with 11 Labs, so I was sitting in my office just kind of like sobbing, like fake crying, and just doing that for like a couple hours, and then using 11 Labs to try to get it to sound in this lady's voice. A lot of work like that, which still happens today, but now on this latest piece, I'm using VO3, and to have dialogue baked in is like incredible. So the one thing that I've been finding with VO3 just yesterday, I'm doing a scene and the actor is just overacting, like crazy bad soap opera overacting. And I'm like
That's
telling
kind of
it like,
crazy, honestly.
yeah,
That's
it's not.
weird.
It's like you're directing a bad actor. It's really funny, but
But I mean,
and then
how it's but they're going beyond good, like they're overdoing it, which is like a
yeah,
dial it back, which is kind of incredible capability, honestly,
it is. It's really weird, man. And so I tell him like, deliver it deadpan.
That is
Be
crazy.
dismissive. Just throw it away. And it's like he's just not doing it. And but if you change the camera angle, he will do it differently. It's very
Wow.
strange how it all works. I don't know under the hood how it all works. I don't think anybody really with neural networks. It's kind of a little bit of a mystery. So
They just
yeah,
don't
it's
want
pretty
to. The AI character doesn't want to see the camera in the scene, and he needs it to be off to the side, or he gets a little
yeah.
stage fright.
It's his bad. His bad side. He's got longish hair. He looks a little bit like I guess like a indie folk rocker, because every now and then he just breaks into a song and starts singing,
What?
and
Unprompted?
prompted, and he's making
Oh
up his
my god!
lyrics. It's really like funny.
And scary and nuts that this is where we are. I really love that you have such a great experience in traditional production and the skill sets you've been developing for 15 years. You've been writing. Last time we spoke, you said you had scripts that were floating around Hollywood. Obviously, you've seen some success, won some awards, taken some offers. I'm interested to know, as your career path has taken you to where you are now, full on director, utilizing AI tools in every aspect. How essential are your traditional skills of editing and maybe having like the developed eye of what maybe looking for like what a cinematographer would, but you're doing it at the time of editing. So like these things are kind of married now. And I'm wondering if is that like a crutch that you can lean on to get more out of the AI tools than maybe somebody who doesn't have that skill set or that eye? And
Mhm.
I'm sorry for like the long question, but I'm interested to know if this is a positive in your workflow or a negative, because you could be seeing the things that make a shot work, but you could also be seeing things where you're saying no, that doesn't work for me. So it could be making it like you have to roll more or roll less. And I'm interested to know if your traditional skill set is cutting down the rolls, or if it's actually making it harder because you actually want an output that is not being delivered.
Yeah, 100% why I'm where I am today is because of my traditional background, writing and editing. Um, that's the reason why like I've had success, and then just being like into tech as a hobbyist. I started the YouTube channel MetaPuppet back in 2021, and it was just covering VR, AR. I'd always been interested in tech, like building computers, building a Hackintosh, and like just I don't know, like that stuff was always cool to me. But in terms of filmmaking, it's literally the same as if I was on set in a traditional uh, production. It's all the terms, knowing, like you mentioned, camera angles, but also years of writing and years of editing. All of that stuff I use every day when I'm working with AI film. I had a university asked me, this was a couple months ago, if I could come in to educate their educators. because they want to be able to teach this in film courses, but their teachers don't have the, that kind of like understanding. And I think that's a huge bottleneck right now. I went to film school a long time ago. If I was teaching a film school today, 100% AI needs to be incorporated for these students to basically previs their film. So if they write a script, a short film, like we all had to do in film school, use AI to block it out, animatics, previs, whatever it takes, and then from there go out and shoot with real people. Obviously, for production value, if you have like a car chase or a spaceship or something, you're going to use AI for that. But then when you get into the close-ups, you can shoot with real actors. You can and then you can have a finished film. I think that absolutely needs to be taught. And I think when you have this next crop of filmmakers coming out of film school with these skills, we're just going to see a deluge of content, AI cinema, and it's not to replace traditional actors. I've been seeing, Runway Act 2 just came out, and I've been seeing these posts like, actors, goodbye actors, we don't need actors anymore. And I just think it's the total opposite. I think it's just going to be different. I think where everybody can be an actor, like not everybody can be an actor. You still have to like study it, and there's talent involved. But with these different, the way you're able to now embody any kind of character, I think to me it's going to be a new golden age of acting. And I have actor friends, and I'm telling them, you got to get into this. I'm like, you got to check out Runway Act 2. Start doing stuff. Make your own reel.
Right. Reels, number one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Easy.
dude, start making your own reel. These tools that can do things that we never had before, and you still get to show off your talent and your creativity. And I think it's an unlock. And what's more than that, I think it's super fun. Buy a green screen on Amazon, have it shipped to you, start just like doing scenes, and then you can restyle yourself in a photorealistic way. You could be a Pixar cartoon character. Voice acting. I mean, voice acting is going to be huge. And with Promise, we're using real actors. We're not replacing them. As great as like something like 11 Labs is, I mean, I think it's just like you still need that human input. So I think it's a big positive. And going back to your question, sometimes because of my editing background, yes, I generate just overkill because it's not exactly what I want or whatever. And so things might take me longer in that sense, but I don't know. I still view it as, I view it all as a positive, and I just wouldn't be in this position if I didn't have that traditional background.
Awesome response. So I have a couple questions from based on your answer there. And it was watching you, this is the first time I've spoke to you since Promise sprung up, but knowing your energy and having had several conversations with you and getting to know you a little bit, it almost is like too serendipitous and coincidental, like, a God thing of how your personal brand aligns with what Promise is promising, pun
Mm,
intended a little bit there of like, you guys are talking about keeping humans around. And you've been saying that since the beginning, that this isn't replacing anything and nobody, you were working on productions using 11 Labs. Like, I'm not telling you what production it is, but I'm
right.
replacing voiceovers so we don't have to call an actor back in. And you were saying how big that was. It was saving everybody's time. It was saving budget. I'm interested to know how you are looking at fundamental like approach to what Promise is doing. Are is that part of the reason you joined is because it was so aligned? And how are you
Mhm.
guys looking to keep humans involved in every aspect? Of course, the traditional hands-on physical tasks that are editing and storytelling, but do you guys have other like keys or non-negotiables that this is the way we move in the space in order to not disrupt those lanes?
Yeah, I mean, I joined because of the founders, George Trompolis, Jamie Byrne, Dave Clark. These guys, I mean, very smart. And in terms of filmmaking, we've all seen what Dave has done with the space. Um, so respect that guy. Had a lot of conversations. They told me about their vision, and you're right, it did align with what I just felt organically. So I just, trusted my gut.
It almost seems like you were the found, like just based on your energy, it seemed like you would be a founder of that. And it seems like weird to me knowing you and how you spoke that you ended up there. It's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the business development experience that those guys have. So obviously, like they are the founders, but they brought me in full time head of genre, which covers sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. Um, I think, yeah, it just aligned with what I felt about how this tech could be used in filmmaking. We work with our VFX head supervisor Rob Niederhorst. He has been in the traditional VFX for like, I don't know, 20, 25 years, something like that. He's worked on everything from the John Wick franchise to Spy Kids to back in the 90s, like Day Before Tomorrow, I think it was called, that Jake Gyllenhaal movie. But
I think it's Day After Tomorrow, but yeah, great movie. Love it.
Day Before Tomorrow would be today. So yeah.
That's pretty
Uh,
good.
but so, he is a huge proponent of keeping humans involved in all of this. So it's in our DNA at Promise. And working when I started with them just a few months ago, well, I started with them in January, so it's been 6 months. We were doing these two projects, two demos. One of them you may have seen is called Ninja Punk. Dave Clark directed that. It's basically, this cybernetic ninja, and it looks there's a lot of 3D elements in it. The other piece is called Tuning In, and it's something that I directed, and it's a more of a 3D animation style test. And we're actually that's going to be our first feature, which we're going into production later, in a few months actually. So we're working on a lot of R&D for that. And in every step of the way with all these tests, I mean, we're hiring actors, we're renting out studio space, we're performing scenes. We have a VFX team who is basically writing code to we have this proprietary workflow that we're creating and developing, in part with third-party APIs and then in part with Comfy UI and our own code. We're not the only ones doing this, but this is kind of like, this is where it's heading, and we're using people every step of the way. So this is not like when I do something personal project like I'm working on now, this is just a solo thing, and it's 100% AI. And then if I have any kind of like input, like I was in a band for 10 years, so I wrote some music, and I'm using a song that I wrote 10 years ago in this, and I'm using Suno to kind of give variations on it. So it's not only it's helping me get new ideas out, it's also reviving old ideas that I have, because like you said, working or in Hollywood, you could say, for so long, it was always my dream to make films, and I have all these backlog of ideas and scripts, and some of them have been in development hell, and this is a way to go back and to start bringing those things to life, which is very satisfying for me. So yeah, it's just a ton of human creativity involved in all this.
Awesome. So you mentioned the VFX artist and working with writers. You're a writer yourself. I'm interested to know how you collaborate with a VFX artist today, and like what a kind of like what a AI shoot looks like. And I want to start with, are you guys AI first for everything at Promise, and how are you approaching that personally? And is it AI first, and we're going to try to use AI, or is it best tool for the job or most efficiency? Like how are you guys thinking about that for shot based or production based? Are you guys making that decision before you go in?
Oh yeah. We're an AI native film studio, so the way we can use AI can vary. The hybrid approach is the way that we're going forward currently. It's because it can bring down cost, it can speed up time it takes going through production, and we're still ironing out those kinks. It's work in progress, but with how quickly these tools update, what was a problem last week is not a problem next week. Like it's crazy. So we using AI for in a mix with 3D environments like Blender. On the project that I was directing, essentially we had a graphic artist create these characters. I took the characters, used AI to create character sheets, and then gave them to a 3D modeler who created models of them. I went into Blender, and it was actually my first time using Blender, and I loved it. And bought some assets and was creating cameras, moving cameras around in this 3D space, and then saying, "This is where I want these characters that were AI generated." We had the 3D modeler put bring them in essentially as starting images. They would send them to me, and I would start to run motion on them. Sometimes we would use an end frame, and we'd create sequences that way, where we're just using kind of like, really it's the same thing as traditional animation, where back in the day you would have a master animator and you'd have like the junior animators, and the master animator would create the keyframes and the junior animators would do all the grunt work to fill in those keyframes. We were using AI as motion to fill in those keyframes to get from point A to point B. And I remember this 3D animator who had been doing it also for like decades. And he would send me the image, and he couldn't believe that 5 minutes later, I'm sending him back video, and she's walking around in the space. It like blew his mind. And he's been in this for a long time, and he wants to do more now. So it's like he still is utilizing his skills as a 3D artist, but he is now being able to be more creative, because he doesn't have to animate those, these little in between shots, let's say. He gets to go on to something new or a different character.
All the busy work is done. It's you get to do the real shit now. That's how our engineers are looking at everything. It's revitalized so many people that became professionals, and like the work becomes hard because it is real work, when you really get down into it. And it seems like just lightening that load a little bit has invigorated so many creatives.
And that's just one way we're using it. On Ninja Punk, we had the stunt team from John Wick. They were doing these choreographed stunt moves that we filmed on green screen, and it was markerless motion capture. And we were able to then, they performed it live, and then we take that data and then
No
using
suits or anything, right? Nothing.
no suits, and they
Yeah.
and they showed up and they loved it because we had one day and we ended up using like, I don't know, 3/4 of the day. They got to go home early, which like never happens uh, on sets. And so they showed up. They didn't have to like sit through makeup or putting on suits or anything. They just like got to work. And these dudes were like doing flips, all these acrobatic moves. And then that was it. They were done. So they loved it and they want to do more of it. So yeah, just a testament to how technology can kind of like take away the burden of, you've heard about actors like sitting in like getting makeup for 6 hours before the shoot day even starts. I mean, the way we can do now, Act Two is, I haven't even fully played with Act Two yet, so I'm not sure with like fidelity but you know where it's going. I mean, this is going to keep getting better and better, and then you can have actors just worry about acting. So I think it's just really really fun.
It is really fun. So, how are you guys coordinating this? Like, so you have like a shoot day, and obviously that was an on location day where you guys are together and shooting. How are you, your day to day collaborations? Are you coordinating via Discord or Slack or something? And how are tools like that helping you guys communicate and move the production forward?
Yeah, Discord, very heavy in Discord, Slack as well. Slack is more because I'm, a full-time employee. We work with development directors, and that's Discord based. They're not on Slack, but we're all remote at this point. We're getting office space out in LA within the next like month or two. They've been looking for office spaces so that when we are in production, we have a hub to go to. There's going part of the part of the office space is going to have a studio space.
Yeah, and
So
you can
we
have a
can,
way smaller footprint too, right? So like a tenth or some way smaller.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, essentially because we're doing motion capture there, so we can do it right there. And then in the other rooms, your VFX guys are getting that data right away. Um, so yeah, man,
It's
it's really,
incredible.
yeah, it is incredible. It's great.
So I really, this is a kind of specific to you because you do have 15 plus years in Hollywood. How have your Hollywood friends and coworkers, colleagues warmed up to AI over the past year, and what's that look like over 18 months of it hits the ground and we have strikes, and now here we are, and there's full on productions using these tools all the time.
I don't have any hostility from any of like my friends, but it's funny because they're still doing their thing and they're still working in post production. But then I get messages. I just got a message the other day like, "Hey, can you get what was it? Can you generate an AI choir singing the national anthem?" So it's like they're working on stuff and they're like, "Oh, let me hit up MetaPuppet," and then so I'll kind of help them out with their production that is a traditional production. Um, they're very busy. I tell them all the time, like, yeah, check out these tools, but they're busy. But there's no hostility there. I think that stigma is changing. Another thing I've noticed, like VFX artists losing their jobs. I've seen where they're losing their jobs to other VFX artists who are using AI. So it's funny. It's kind of like one, artist replacing another because they're using AI. So I don't think that of course it's not like a perfect world where everything just evens out. I know, this is very disruptive. This technology is very disruptive to a lot of industries. So just speaking about what I've seen though, I think there's a lot of potential for job creation as well.
Absolutely. And I won't share any names, but we are talking to some major studios regularly, and some of our partners that are, I'll use the word terrified
Mm,
of what AI is bringing to the table and how like they're I'm saying some of the biggest studios in the world,
mhm.
the biggest are saying like how do we protect our IP,
Yeah.
and that you go to YouTube and type in pretty much any noteworthy or known IP, and you can find something that was probably AI generated or that's not in the world of that IP. How are you having any conversations about that, or how are you thinking about that moving forward for these major IPs that are worth billions of dollars, and now somebody can just upload a still image and make it come to life with whatever
Mm.
prompt they want? Are you having any conversations about that, or do you have any insight or foresight on where you think that's headed, and what issues that causes, and also
Yeah.
opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, currently it's kind of working its way through the courts. With in terms of promise, there's this whole thing about clean models that are ethically trained. We hear those words a lot. Adobe, they have Firefly. Um, Even Google Veo, it's weird because I guess there's this whole thing, it's been trained. I'm sure it's been scraped on YouTube, but when you start a YouTube channel, you're signing something over. Nobody ever reads it. I didn't. So, I don't know. There might be my stuff that I made that was part of the training data. I mean, who knows?
You
But
got
in
to think they're
terms of,
training on everything they have. It's war.
yeah, right. Um, but in terms of working with other studios, yes, they are explicit that it has to be like a clean model. I think where things are headed, it's actively being argued in courts. I think there's going to be regulation probably in the next few months. um I don't have all the answers, but I know, it's interesting too, like with the Chinese models. uh it's kind of like in China, it's culturally different. So I think less stress is put on the individual, and so IP is just fundamentally different there. So people are like, oh, the Chinese models, they just steal everything. I think that it has to be looked at through like a gentle lens, whereas like it's not really valued the same way. So it's not like an apples to apples comparison. But I got to be honest, VO3 compared to Kling, I mean, I love both, but VO3 is just like crushing it. I can't even imagine what VO4 is going to look like.
Right.
Um, so I think I'm positive. I feel like with Promise, it's almost like being early is definitely, while these things are unclear, we are optimistic that they're going to get sorted out in a way that we we'll be ready to go as soon as like we can, as soon as these other studios green light being able to use whatever models. It's working through their legal departments, which takes a lot of time and money. And when it does get figured out, we'll be in a position that we can just start creating. So yeah, I think it was like a tactical approach to not wait, but to be in a position where we're ready to go and maybe like first mover advantage, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Happy Friday, everyone. We are speaking with the legend MetaPuppet, award-winning producer, director, longtime Hollywood talent that has a ton of skills he's bringing to the table, and currently at Promise Studios as the head of genre. Um, that's my next question: is as head of genre and IP development at Promise, what's your vision for incubating franchises? Are you guys looking for IPs you can develop? Any certain formats? Are you looking at micro dramas? You want more long form? Anything that you can touch on
Mhm.
for what your vision is for the future of Promise and your role as head of genre?
Yeah, our North Star is theatrical release, to just, have a feature in theaters. But we're also looking into everything else from series to social media to verticals. So we've got our eye on everything. In terms of IP, we work with directors on development deals, like Uncanny Harry, Solo Twin Studios, Junie Lau, some of these directors that we work with, and then quarterly they'll bring original ideas. We'll work through pitches, we'll create trailers, and then that's original IP that Promise then owns, and then we go out and shop. So that's how we're approaching IP, but we're also looking to acquire existing IP. There's IP that these major studios have that sits on the shelves for years, and maybe it's because of cost. And so now we can go in and say, like, that $100 million movie that's been, script that's been sitting on the shelf, we could do it for, I don't know, a fifth, a tenth, so that's kind of like that's the move there, because of this technology and the way we're using it. So original IP, acquiring IP, um, yeah, we're looking at all different sorts of distribution, streaming, theatrical, anything and everything.
Let's talk distribution for a moment. Where are you currently? Obviously, funded by Google. You're uploading to YouTube, and it's a wonderful platform. Where else are you distributing right now, and where do you see the future of distribution or any bottlenecks in distribution for the way content's going to be moving in the future?
We're not really distributing anything right now because we're still in the pre-production, production phases. The stuff that we've created has they've been kind of like, more demos and tests, things like that. Um, in terms where I see it changing in terms of theatrical, we're like I said, we're going into this feature, and it's going to be, 2026 it'll be ready to distribute, but we've already learned that the theaters already have their slate for 2026, so it could get pushed into 2027. And I don't fully understand how the theater world works when it comes to their slates and whatnot. It seems to me though that we are, we're disrupting this industry. um when I say we, I mean everyone. It's being disrupted. The theater industry, I feel, is going to have to adapt also, because when you're able to scale down the time frame that, making a movie from like a year to, let's say, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months, there's going to be more content. How are theaters going to handle that, and how are they going to deal with that? We've already seen where the time a movie stays in a theater, that's shrunk dramatically, from 10, 20 years ago. So streaming is obviously a huge part of that. So I think that distribution model for theaters is going to have to change.
Yeah, we think so too. And I know you're. I don't know what term you would put on yourself, but I'll say you're a Bitcoiner or crypto OG. You've been in the space for a long time and are hip to everything that's going on there. Are you looking at on-chain distribution, like similar to what we're doing at Rad with wallet splits and things like that to reduce accounting or legal dependencies to shave off even more budget restrictions and hurdles to climb over. Do you think that's something that the industry as a whole will be looking into, or do you think the traditional rails stay important to that industry forever?
I mean, for no, I don't even know what forever. I don't even know what like
I know.
2 years looks like.
Sure,
So
sure.
no, it's all going to change. I think blockchain is amazing technology. Yeah, I've been gotten to Bitcoin over a decade ago. Not a lot, unfortunately, but been just because I'm interested in tech. So it's not a conversation that I've had with anybody at Promise. I don't think it's like currently we're not really like looking at that. I mean, I can't speak for the founders. Maybe they have. I definitely think for artists, and I've thought this for a while. It's amazing. It's an amazing way. We need like a way to verify who's creating what, especially with AI. It's so easy to create fake videos, deep fakes, whatever you want to call it. A lot of it's entertainment, but then there's a lot of misinformation too. And I think a way to track who's creating what is blockchain. And I think in terms of like for artists, music, video, being able to imprint it onto a blockchain, something that's immutable, and you can look at it and say, we know that this is who created this, is going to be integral to artists' rights and royalties, stuff like what you're doing at Rad. I'm all in favor of that. I think it's microtransactions. I know, like for the gaming world, that's going to be huge. That's a whole nother thing. It's like these transactions that happen so quickly. Like, I don't think you can rely on the traditional financial rails for that.
Yeah, I don't either. And it looks, we just had a conversation while we were in New York City with one of the biggest streamers in the world, and the head of business development there, we brought up the fact that we can reduce your overhead for accounting and legal a lot by just using wallet splits and just make sure everybody's paid at the time of sale. Like, you don't have to do net 30 or net 90 or whatever you're doing anymore. And she turned, pointed at this room, and she's like, I fucking hate dealing with them. And you guys would not believe, pointing at the room that they're in, she's like, you would not believe all of the headaches that a slowed payment or a banking error causes in the pipeline of production. And I've, you know, dealt with that a little bit, but nothing where you're talking, your $100 million movie budget or something, where if money doesn't make it to where it needs to make it, that could really disrupt production, especially something that's on location, traveling around the world with trucks and teams of people and things. And it just seems that the speed at which money moves needs to catch up with the speed at which humans and data moves. And it's getting there.
It's getting there. Everything is an imperfect system, and I know when something's new, people are afraid about. You hear about scams with crypto all the time, or it's used for money laundering and kidnapping, whatever. It's like, well, what was used before that for all those things? It was cash.
Right.
So I don't know, the fact that, like, it's different, and people just have a hard time just accepting change, I guess. But yeah, it's changing. There's some friction involved, but I think that's just human beings. It's always the way. That's just the way we're designed.
Absolutely. So you've been here since the beginning. I would love to know what tool you feel has progressed the most in the last year, or maybe a tool that you thought would be hot that fell off or just didn't catch on the way you thought it would have or could have.
Hmm. I mean, I just, I have to say, with VO3 incorporating dialogue right into your prompts, and the way, yeah, that from, think about, we remember 1 year ago, you remember, I can't even believe it. Like, even 2 years ago, like, do you remember what AI video looked
It
like?
was I had remember saying at Rad, we were talking about, Tony was like, man, we got to start paying attention to AI video. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah.
don't. No, we don't. And his statement still to this day is, this is as bad as it will ever be. And it's
Yeah.
only going to get better. And he says that still today. He's like, as bad as it will ever be. And we'll see something incredible. And he'll say that. And we know we burst into laughter now. But it was, the term slop was applicable
Yeah.
18 months ago.
Yep. I remember one of the very first images that I created, that I generated, was Al Pacino as a Smurf. And I could not believe that it gave me Al Pacino as a Smurf. I was like blown away, man. I typed in Al Pacino as a Smurf, and it just gave it back to me. And you know,
Is this like
like
mid? Is this Mid Journey or something? Where were you?
that was probably Mid Journey, but Stable Diffusion is what I first discovered this,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Stability AI. I think that company. I saw an interview um, with Imad, and I was just like, wait a minute, you can type what you want to see and it shows it to you. This was just like mind blowing. This was just 3 years ago, and it's like now it's my full time job, which I still can't get over. And it's like the quality of videos, yeah, it's insane. Um, but I think really for me, reducing the number, and I'm sure for everybody, reducing the number of steps when you're creating a video is huge. So VO3, because of the sound effects and the dialogue. Runway, again with Act Two, I just think that for a lot of people, they're using it for just being able to act and being able to not rely on just prompting, but you're able to move around, and the way that it styles you, I think is awesome. Those two things really stand out. Midjourney getting into video now, it's really good. Their animation, their video model on like on animation, I've been playing around with that, and it's just really good. It's funny because you see one tool come out with something new, and then you see other ones following it, and there's not really one leader, but they're all just getting better and better. And I just think that it's great because I'm really platform agnostic. It's like all the tools, I want them to just be great, because then it just frees me up to create what's in my head, get it on screens, and be able to share it with the world.
Absolutely. It's something that I think about every day since the last time we spoke. The last time we spoke, we had several people on our space, and I had to share you with others, and didn't get this time just committed directly to you. But it was a great conversation and some
Mm-hmm.
really incredible points touched on that I feel like ThinkBite was nailing the future. He basically like called before any political podcast things were happening. He was like, podcasts are going to dominate politics moving forward, and it absolutely has. And I mean, like to the point to where politicians are stopping what they're doing and just starting podcasts to have talking head time all the time and all the clips. It's what they need. And he talked about how important sound was in the storytelling process. And
Mm-hmm.
any time now that I view a piece of content that is missing that sound, the layer of sound that makes it immersive, I feel
Yeah.
myself just not pulled into the story. And I'm seeing things like the ticking seconds in the background on Interstellar when they're on the planet with all the water. The ticking seconds are actually years that are passing on another planet as part of the story, and you don't really know that unless you watched it 10 times and read things and follow things. But once I heard that, I was like, well, I have to go watch that again. And
Yeah.
like, there's so many little things with the sound in that movie that are adding to storytelling. It's been interesting to me, and lacking, very clearly lacking in the space, was the audio tools. It seems in the last 6 months that the industry as a whole has noticed that that's a massive gap that needs filled, and everybody's been diving in to solve those problems, whether it's lip sync, custom voices, generating sound. I'm interested to know what your approach is with sound, and you've done it so well. Is sound to you taking as much time or more time than video? And how are you approaching the sound aspect with AI? Are you using a lot of AI generated sound, or are you pulling in sounds from sound banks like you would traditionally?
I remember learning in film school two things. One, sound is 50% of a movie.
Yep.
You're seeing it and hearing it. Two, people will forgive bad visuals, but they won't forgive bad sound. Remember those two things. And I think sound gets overlooked all the time, but
I think it massively overlooked. I think it's like the only thing we're really missing right now.
yeah, I mean, it's weird because if you're in a room, our ears, like you're hearing everything, even if it's dead silent, you're still hearing like that a little high pitched ring or whatever it
Mhm.
is. So that's why they have room tone. And if little things like that help bring it to life, and when they're missing, what it does is it's almost subconscious, where the viewer is like, "There's something missing, but I don't know what
Yeah,
it
I'm
is."
not in a room here. Am I
Yeah,
in a void? Where am I? Yeah,
yeah,
and it's not even it's not a connection you make. It is just it's an off-putting energy that your body just doesn't resonate with. It's not even like you can't even like put words on it really.
it's not natural, right? And so the more you do little things like that, the more immersed somebody is. It draws them in because it feels real. But I've also noticed now that they all start doing sound, it could be problematic as well,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
if you do an 8-second clip, and then you do another 8-second clip, and this is supposed to be from the same room, that tone is going to be different. So yeah, that's a little bit like, you almost don't want it baked in,
Right,
because
right.
you want to have it be consistent. So there's little you have to get around that. Um, I think, and there's different, like, also what we're doing at Promise, we're trying to do like theatrical stuff. There's plenty, that's not the only use case. There's so much, like, there's plenty of use case for uh verticals, or social media, where that doesn't really need to be the focus. I don't think that, like, there's any one answer or one use case.
For sure.
So
Just
if
optionality is really all we're talking
you're
about
an
here. Yeah.
you're an influencer, and, like, no, like, you're doing something and it's entertainment, whatever, and you have a following, like, you're not worried about, I don't know, you're not worried about, like, you Interstellar, like, how much meaning those seconds have, you know, um, like hearing the ticking clock. I mean, that's really cool. Some people gravitate towards that. Some people can also, like, this is what I found too, where some traditional people in traditional film, they look down at AI because what they see is on social media, and they're like, you know, it's beneath the art that we're creating. And that's just kind of like, I don't like that approach, because and I'm so sick of that. Is it art or not? Yes, it's all art. The reason is, it's art to the person who believes it's art, and it's not art to the person who doesn't believe it's art. It's the fundamental definition of art, is that it's
And like being a human. Yes.
just perspective. So it's like, if some person watches, something I made, and they're like, that sucks, they're right. And if another person watches it and, like, that's awesome, they're right. So I just, like, wish we could just stop arguing about what's art and what's not, and just, like, let everybody have their own opinion on things.
Amen. What bottlenecks are you seeing right now in AI productions that could be solved by AI or you don't think will be solved by AI either way?
Writing and editing, and I'm biased because that's obviously my background, but my experience currently with writing and editing, AI cannot do it. Like, the writing sucks. If you're trying to do, like, a whole narrative kind of movie, it's like, it can't do that. It's I use it as an assistant. I think it's a great, like, a writer's assistant. Give me names of fictitious diners, give me names of, like, places, whatever. That kind of stuff I think is great, and it's really the way it works anyway. When you have, like, a writer's room and you have assistants, that's kind of how that works. But to have it, like, spit out something on its own that's like an amazing script and has all of this, like, nuance and everything, it's just not there. I don't know if it'll ever get there. Like, sure, perhaps it will. But I think there's also a human perspective element when you're writing something. And then when it comes to editing, yeah, to have it kind of put together a feature seamlessly, it's just not there yet. And yeah, it'll probably get there one day. But those are the two things that I think that it doesn't do well currently, and I'm totally fine with that, because another thing, that's my favorite part,
Yeah,
like the
you
writing.
that's what you do. Yeah. Yeah, for
Literally,
sure.
it's where I get the most satisfaction. And it's funny because, a 3D person that I know, basically, they said, this was told to me. Um, they were playing around with AI, and AI was doing, the thing that they normally do, and it was doing it well, but they didn't like it because they didn't get satisfaction. They weren't getting the satisfaction, and I was just like, yeah, because that's what you like to do. So I totally get that. If it was just editing my thing for me, yeah, I'd miss it because I love editing. So but then there's other 3D artists who are like, no, I love it because it's doing all this like in between stuff, in between keyframes that I don't have to do, which frees me up to do the thing I love to do. So I really think it comes down to using it, however the user uses it. All right. It's really like it's an amazing tool, but it's also as smart as it is, it's dumb, right? Like
Sure. Very
you can
dumb.
generate all these amazing images and video and visuals, but I don't know
But it
how you.
can't quit using M dashes no matter how many times you tell it to. It's gonna put
Yeah.
an M dash in there.
Yeah, man, it's really I don't know, it's interesting, but I just think you can use it the way you want to use it that works for you,
Sure.
and do the stuff that you love if it's whatever it is, and then use AI almost as a way to help you do the things that you don't love to do.
Right. So when you're saying that it's like not, it's not great at writing or whatever, are you thinking like specific things? Are you thinking like comedy? It's not great at doing comedy? Are you thinking it's not good at like through lines for long form story arcs that are done by a room full of writers where they all remember all the characters' total storylines because if they didn't, it ruins, millions of dollars of productions or story or whatever it could be? Or is that the memory that's lacking there, or the ability to like recall in the moment of need? Like, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, like I think when I use LLMs, they're amazing at information, giving information. I'm speaking of in terms of if it's writing something like a narrative piece, uh, it's it's not what I would write, obviously, because I have my own perspective. And so if I'm trying to get it to write what I would write, it's not going to do it. So I think it can write obviously in tons of other industries. I mean, it's great at writing. Creative writing is just what I'm referring to, and it's not my voice. And I think that's kind of the issue that I have. It's great at helping me, whether it's finding what I'm trying to say or using it that way. I think it's very helpful. Um, but yeah, I don't enjoy if it's something that was written. I mean, I would prefer to write it. That's just me as a writer.
Of course. Have you experimented with any tools for editing? Have you used any AI tools that are doing auto edits or any clip cutting or anything like that? Have you found anything that's nice? And I'd love to know if you're also Adobe or you using CapCut, working in anything else, anything other than Adobe?
Um, Adobe Premiere and also DaVinci Resolve are the two NLE.
Ooh,
Yeah, Resolve.
surprising to hear you say Resolve, honestly, as a traditional Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's Resolve. I mean, I started using Resolve about, I don't know, I want to say like 8, 9 years ago.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Um, most of the productions when I was working, I was doing like short form documentary stuff, and a lot of those companies are using Premiere. So you kind of like
Everybody
use the
uses Premiere. Yeah.
everyone's using.
It's new
Uh,
admin. Yeah.
yeah, another company was using Resolve on Tuning In and Ninja Punk that we did with Promise. We ended up starting in Premiere and we ended up going to Resolve because we were doing the team project with Resolve, and the VFX guys really it benefited them. So we shifted over to Resolve, and thankfully, I mean, I'd worked in Resolve before. So yeah, those tools are what I've used traditionally and still use. The As far as AI editing, I have not really played around with it, but I think there's one called Electric Sheep. I can't remember if that's the name right. It's something like that. And so that looked cool, and sound exciting. So I want to check that out. I think like Premiere incorporating AI into it, like they're doing. It's very interesting. Like having generative fill right inside Premiere, the way that Photoshop has it. But if you're using it for video, on the audio side, right, the way that it's implementing AI into audio, those tools there, I think that's going to be the hors d'oeuvre, so to speak, for the professional who is not in AI. They're going to start getting used to that, and that's like the way in to where AI becomes more and more of a main course, because it's being implemented into a traditional tool that's used by a lot of video professionals.
So the last year and a half have been insanity when you think about how many tools are dropping and all these new companies popping up. Um, Blacklight's talked about this. Hello, Blacklight. Thank you for joining us today, King. Happy Friday. Um, he's here and spoke about this before about consolidation in the space, and that's something we talked about when we had his 1 year anniversary chat back in April for being in the AI video space. And I'm wondering what you see of consolidation in the AI space and what's going to come there. It's obviously a lot of these tools are focusing on similar aspects. I totally agree with you that your sentiment of when a new tool rolls out or a new feature, it seems like they're just the leader of that day or that, they get their moment, but then here comes all the other tools doing that same thing and in their way, in their vein, in their specialty, whatever, and they add their little sauce. Do you feel like there's going to be massive consolidation and bloody waters over the next X amount of time?
Um, I mean, consolidation in terms of the tools, like
Yeah,
being,
just like companies buying other companies or VC funding running out and
oh, for
drying
sure.
up, we're going to have a handful of tools. Just like right now when you're talking AI, you're talking video editors. I mean, how many can we name 10? I don't think we can. Maybe we can if we really stretch. We could name 10 video editors, but really, it's like pick one of these five, and that's what everybody on Earth is going to say, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be consolidation, obviously. But I think that also I'm really like having open source tools like Comfy UI, that community that they basically something comes out in like a third party tool or whatever, and then like a day later, the open source community is like giving you something that's like an alternative, which is really, I think, very important to have because filmmaking aside, I think AI in general, because it's so powerful and as it becomes like a way of life, if it's just closed source and you have to pay for it, and then there's people that can't afford to pay for it, I think they're going to start to get left behind. And you don't want all that power in the hands of just like entities. So I think having open source tools is very important. And what comes with that are a lot of these different, going back to like entertainment and filmmaking, a lot of these tools like lip sync, character consistency, all that stuff, you can find them with open source tools. Yeah, that might be a little bit harder to get into because of the UI or comfy or things like that. So, my alarm's going off. But yeah, so I think there's going to be consolidation to some extent, like, Google, which is massive. It's like, who can compete with Google? Apple, Microsoft.
They're not doing a very good job, any of them. Only Google. And Google's dominating out here from
Yeah,
our
what's
perspective.
Meta's, they've got stuff going on. I mean, who knows, man? These corporations have so much money. I hope it doesn't all come down to one company, because then you don't want things like, I heard Tim from Theoretically Media talking about this. Like, you don't want things to become homogenous. You go, and I do this all the time. It's like, I have a certain look in mind, I'll go to a certain tool because I think that it'll work for that. So if you just have one tool, I don't know. I don't want to like limit creatively what I can create. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Blacklight brought this up before too, that he thinks the early models are going to be preferred in some instances because of their output and because of the value that they can add in a certain creative aspect. And to think that some tool that generates something, to think it doesn't serve you, that's like what you just said, that's a personal decision, and you are correct. But don't say it doesn't serve me or whatever. I might
Right.
I might want this, and that's the thing I'm going for here. So
Yeah, 100%.
I'd love to know, and I know I'm being thoughtful of your time. We will wrap up around 11:30. I got a few more questions for you. Then we're going to do some rapid fire. I'll open it up here if anybody has any questions in the audience. Um, Thinking 2 to 5 years ahead in AI video. I know that's a lifetime. So let's just say like 2 years. I don't think anybody in the world can see what happens in 5 years. I like that's another election, and who knows what's
Yeah,
happening then, you know? Um, so
who knows?
where do you see things going in the next 2 years in AI video? And I know you already mentioned, you know, Promise is looking at a theatrical release 26. Maybe it gets pushed to 27 or something, but that's 2 years. Are you thinking we're going to see more things like that, or do you think Promise is maybe the first, or you know, right at it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we'll be the first or not, but another thing that's cool is even our quote unquote competitors are our friends, right, in this space because we all kind of came up together in this community. So that's cool. But we also, we're doing co-productions too, so it's not just a theatrical release. We will be releasing. We are going into productions on things that will be released sooner. But yeah, in terms of like 2 years, I mean, I think that it reminds me of CGI in like 80 or 89 or 90, where Jurassic Park, where that was like this watershed moment and they were able to make that movie. Um, and I think back then, the Oscars, there was a whole thing about like the Oscars weren't allowing CGI short films or movies to be part of it. There was a whole big backlash about it because it wasn't really like hand animated. So I feel like we've seen this before when there's like a disruptive tech comes in, there's resistance to it. But now, it's the way any movie that you see, it's got some kind of like VFX in it. They've used CGI, and now AI is starting to. It's just speeding up that process. It's the next iteration of it. Um, and I think that the resistance to it will start to go away, and it'll just become normalized. When it comes to TV shows and films, I think in the next 2 years it'll be human actors. It will be shot, out on set. But a lot of the background, the VFX, a lot of that is going to be AI assisted, whether you want to call it machine learning or AI. So because it just makes things more cost efficient, and that's a good thing too, because like I said, a lot of scripts are sitting on shelves and will never get made, and they could be great stories that the world never has because of the cost. So if we bring down the cost, we can get out more great stories. And I think everybody can, everybody's been saying, oh, Hollywood doesn't have original ideas. There's no new ideas. Part of it, a huge part of it, is the cost. So I think ultimately, it's a good thing to bring that down. And I think we'll also have new stories from people around the world who were never in a position to be able to tell them or to get them out, which I think is going to be exciting. I think we're in for a new kind of like golden age of filmmaking. I
Amen.
personally, it's more like in indie film in the 70s, Easy Rider, like when that came out and you started this like kind of like independent revolution. I think this could be the next thing that allows new creators, a new breed of creators, to tell new types of stories.
I love that you bring that up, and I know, you know, talking to you 3 times now, that that's a passion point for you. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, it was you that brought up something about disabilities in this art form being able to be used, and these tools being able to be used by people with disabilities. And I want to say it was something tied to like maybe your mom was a teacher, or saying that these could be used for something on our first conversation. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it
No, you're
seems like you're really focused on these new stories and people's voices that finally have a chance to get out because they would just be totally overlooked in the traditional Hollywood
yeah,
or storytelling.
yeah, 100%. My mother, yeah, she was for like 30 years, she was a teacher for kids with disabilities, and so that I have a very soft spot, in my heart about that topic, and for people, for anyone who is using tools that are not designed for them, something like obviously speech to text or speech to image to video, to be able to, if you can use your hands in the way that we can, this is such a positive, because think about if you wanted to tell these stories, had these ideas, had these images in your head that you wanted to draw or paint, but you couldn't, physically, you were disabled. But now to be able to get that out, I think that's such an amazing thing. And everybody's got stories, but in the past, not everybody's had the ability to tell them. And it doesn't mean that you have to go to like, Hollywood and get them on a screen. I have a 7-year-old daughter. She loves to draw. So it's like, let's create a book. Let's create a children's book, and we'll use AI to kind of like visualize it. It's funny because it's a double-edged sword. I was using something, it might have been like Korea, where or Free Pick perhaps, where you have a canvas on the split screen, and you basically use the mouse and you draw on the left side, and then on the right side it's fleshing out what it thinks you're drawing, and it turns it into like this nice AI picture. And my daughter got a little bit frustrated because she's like, I want my drawing to look like that drawing. And it actually I felt myself being like, this sucks, like, yeah. I was like, let's put this away and let's just draw on paper. And I had a thought, like, for myself, somebody who has traditional background. When I went to film school, we learned by cutting on flatbeds. And so we had to cut real film. We weren't using it. We were shooting digital, but it was like we had to learn that fundamental background. If my daughter grows up like never really drawing on paper, and she just uses a computer and just has AI do the pictures, there's literal connections in her brain for hand-eye coordination that won't
Absolutely.
develop.
Speech, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
And so I
tied.
was
Yeah.
like, wow, what's the world going to look like? And I mean, so I was just like, all right, let's draw, let's get that down. And then once you know the basics, then you can start using these tools. It just, as a parent, it felt more responsible of me, but I also think it's super cool to telling a bedtime story and using ChatGPT. Like, all right, this is what I want to talk about. I want it to be about this girl who wants a job, and she gets upset and this happens, and you just tell it, and then it kind of like fills in these details. And I
It's
literally did
incredible.
this 5 minutes before bedtime because my daughter wanted like a
Do
bedtime
a little
story.
bit of research, get you a fresh story. That's amazing. That's an
Yeah,
awesome way. Yeah.
so I don't remember how we started talking about this,
Well,
but
we just
hopefully,
talked about your mom and disabilities and bringing out
right.
new stories, and that went to your daughter and
Yeah,
her getting out her ideas, but also the frustration that comes with this. So you said it was a double edged sword, and I think you explained it perfectly.
yeah, double-edged sword. It's all in how you use it. I think it's kind of like screen time. When you're a parent, there's a responsibility around it. Even with Promise, I remember when we were talking about our mission statement, I remember thinking like, we also have a responsibility to viewers out there, because we're at this pivotal time where this tech is disrupting an industry. A lot of people are worried about losing jobs over it, and it's also creating jobs. But what do we want to tell? How do we want to go about telling it? And that's where we're very focused on. Let's, using actors, using people who are traditional filmmakers. And I'll tell you another thing too. Somebody, I get messages, and somebody, it was an NYU film school graduate who messaged me and said, I saw the stuff that you're, creating, and I just graduated film school, and I have, X amount of dollars in debt, and I'm screwed. And so I was just like, I wrote back and I said, first of all, you're not screwed. You actually have an advantage because you just went to NYU film school, right? You've made connections, you've learned all these fundamentals. Now do like AI filmmaking course, spend like 6 months. And he actually went to Curious Refuge, and he, signed up for those courses. So this person now has this traditional background and now is going to learn AI tools. And I guarantee like that's the way forward. They're going to be just fine.
Absolutely, and probably land a job faster than the
Probably
people that they graduated with, as
still
long as they dive in. Yeah.
still
So,
early.
um, I got one more question, then we'll open it up, and then we're going to do some rapid fire. That's just like 10 quick questions.
Cool.
Um, what is a tool you wish existed, or a friction point that you're currently experiencing, uh, that if you know if a tool was created to solve this, it would save you a massive amount of time?
I mean, the two biggest, lip sync and character consistencies, a lot of progress has been made on that. One thing I will say, and there's a good reason for this, but generating anything with kids is problematic. And, obviously we all know why. But I think there needs to be some kind of vetting
Like a
for,
KYC or something. Just give me access. Let me do the thing. Here's all my
yeah,
information.
because,
Watch what I'm doing. I don't care.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you're trying to make a kids movie, I
Right.
mean, that's a tough one right now. So
Hmm.
that's
Yeah, Tasha Caulfield brought up that she doing the Bruce Lee stuff where the boys are training and they're supposed to be training shirtless, and she's like, I
Right.
couldn't generate anything with teenage boys shirtless, and she's like, I'm not trying to do anything weird. I'm trying to create this scene, but
Right.
she's like, I understand why the tool thinks I'm a weirdo.
We all, but not all of us. I mean, so some kind of vetting would be cool.
Yeah, I think that's got. I mean, it's if they got your credit card information, it's easy to say, you have my info. But so many people out here are stealing credit cards and things like that. That there's a lot of loopholes that
Yeah,
that'll
man.
be solved. That'll be solved soon.
When you're Google, you need your whole account
Right.
for Revio. They know who you are. They know what you're generating.
They know
So
you better than you know you. Yeah. I'm going to open it up. Does anybody have any questions? Blacklight, thank you for joining. Poi Honan, thank you for joining. I see you, Piff's Peak. Great to see you in here. And Barnum Cat, thank you for stopping in today. Anybody have any questions for King MetaPuppet before we hit our rapid fire questions and wrap this baby up? So appreciate your time today, King MetaPuppet. It is wonderful talking with you and been awesome watching your journey. I feel very blessed to be connected with you and have the
like
conversations we have.
likewise, man. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome. All right, we're going to bang out these rapid fires. It's about 10 questions and very easy, nothing intrusive. Just a reminder that we are being recorded.
Mm.
So, favorite artist other than a musician? So, fine art, sculptor, painter, anything.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Amen. Are you hip to Leonardo da Vinci with the Pellegrino water? Are you hip to Da Vinci water? Are you hip to
No,
this? Yeah,
no.
I just got hip to this like a year ago that he studied the water where Pellegrino comes from, and he wrote a bunch of he wrote papers on it and things, and talked about how that water is living water, and then they of course bottled it, and now they sell it to us and add fluoride to it. But it's my favorite, and very interesting that Leonardo was doing writing on water and spending a lot of time watching that water. Is very interesting. If you ever
And now there's microplastics in it. Don't check out my plastic video on TV.
You're funny. Favorite musician, artist of all time, band, whatever.
Oh man, of all time.
Yep.
Damn. Shit. Let's see. I'll do a little bit. I'm gonna do Credence. Credence Clearwater Revival.
Love it. Love it. What's the last movie you saw and the last movie you saw in theaters?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't even remember. Oh, it was definitely a kids movie. I took my daughter. Oh, it was Puss in Boots 2 was the
Awesome.
last movie I've been
Awesome.
to in theaters. Yeah.
Is that the last one you saw as well?
No, what did I see recently? Man, it's this is another thing. It's like I'm generating and creating a bunch of it's like I really don't watch a lot of movies. I feel like I don't have time.
Yeah, me neither anymore.
The last one I saw, honestly, dude, with a 7-year-old, I most of my time when I'm not working, I'm with her, and so I'm watching kids stuff.
Amen. Me too. I have a 2-year-old. We're watching Miss Rachel, Bear in the Big Blue House, and he just got into Toy Story. And we watched Madagascar the other day, which we were surprised he enjoyed. But
I love it.
it's getting fun. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're moving on.
Mhm.
Favorite TV show?
Let's see, TV show. Man, I have no idea. I'm gonna go with a sitcom, and I'll be basic. I'll just do Friends.
I love Friends. Friends. I did not like Friends originally when it was out and everybody was hype on it. I was like, I don't get the hype. Now Friends can stay on my TV all the time. I love it. Hilarious,
The
incredible
comedy,
acting.
the comedy holds up, which how comedy shifts and changes, but
Yeah.
it's pretty funny.
It's hilarious. I mean, I think it's getting better, and it's not like there's nothing they need to apologize for. It's just really well thought out and
Well written.
produced. Yeah. What is your favorite food in the world, or favorite type of cuisine, if you want to do that?
Man, I think sushi. Yeah, I'll go sushi.
You have a favorite restaurant?
Well, it's not a sushi restaurant, but my favorite restaurant was Mastro's on the PCH.
Yeah,
in
that's
Malibu.
I actually know the head chef there.
Oh, okay. And
I had
that's
the
awesome.
I
When
had
the
the
fire
it's a
happened,
great restaurant, incredible. I mean, you get that seafood platter that comes out, the
yeah,
huge table, like table size plate is insanity.
it's where my wife and I, we were dating at the time. We have a lot of memories there, so I think it's tied to that as well.
Amen. Yeah, a friend of mine from here in Columbus worked with him at either I think at Buca de Beppo, and then he got
Mhm.
the job at Mastro's and been out there for 10 or 15 years now.
Nice.
I love this one for you. Bitcoin price 2040. What's the current rate? We at 119 right now, 118.
119. Let's see, 2040. All right. Well, so 1 million, another 10 years, 10 million.
Woo! I like that. We have to clip that one. We like that answer. That's a good answer. Um, all right, that's really all, all the rap. I'm gonna skip the other two because I think we nailed it here. So,
Cool, man.
anything you would like to shout out before we wrap up? And again, thank you so much for your time, King MetaPuppet.
No, I just want to shout out you guys, this AI video community. We're all coming up together and it's really exciting to see. So I just wish success for everyone. There's plenty of pieces of the pie to go around. And yeah, man, let's be the future of this industry of film, television, social media, verticals, content. Let's just tell some stories and have fun doing it.
Amen. You're inspiring a lot of people, King, and your tutorials on YouTube and the things you're sharing are going far beyond where you think they are. I mean, we've shared your stuff, Blacklight stuff, Tasha stuff with the largest studios in the world, and people are seeing your guys' stuff. And I think tons of opportunity is coming your all's way and this space's way. We feel very blessed to be a part of this community. Today, we have been speaking with MetaPuppet. He is an incredible creator on all fronts, from traditional all the way up to AI. We've got a bunch of links pinned here at the top, and they're all over our timeline. Encourage you to follow him, connect with him, DM him, ask him questions. Go check out his YouTube, check out his Rad TV channel. Incredible energy, great man, dad. Um, Lucky to be connected with him and grateful for your time today. My name is Cameron, and this has been another episode of NFTV. I hope you all have a wonderful Friday. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the timeline. Have a great weekend.
Later. Appreciate you.
Thank you, King. Have a good day.
Join the fun,
You
don't
too.
be afraid. Flat TV is all you need. Web free power in the lead. Stream past NFT, premium unlocked. Rad TV, we're never gonna stop. Flat TV, the place to be for creators and fans. We're the key. Join the wave, let's make some noise. Rad TV, we're the future. Enjoy.